The Mike Macdonald Show. The first word from the head coach after every Seahawks game.
It's a work in progress since the day you walk in the door.
Presented by Emerald Queen Casino.
Yes, sir!
Well, you hear him say it there, a work in progress, and yesterday kind of felt that way. What did you see out on the field yesterday?
Well, I think I said this after the game and after watching the tape, but you really feel the same way. It's obviously really frustrated from where we were a week ago. But, yesterday's are things that those types of games happen when you face a really good team and look, and you get beaten in all three phases straight up, and then you add the stuff that we did to ourselves as well. And that's how you end up losing by 21 points at home. And it's humbling, I mean, it's a taste of reality right in your face, and you got to take it on the chin. But we have to grow from this. We have to the same mentality we had, on the 3-game skid. I think that's who we are. We're a resilient crew, and we need to grow. We need to grow. We need to look at everything, especially in the run game on both sides of the ball, and grow from it. But again, this is this. You have to. I mean, that's the mentality we're going to have. We're going to get to the point we're going to get to, and we're going to chase it like heck until we get there. So, and it just needs to be more consistent from week to week. I thought we had a good week of practice. It wasn't as good as the Atlanta prep. I thought we didn't have our best Wednesday, but I did feel like the guys were ready to play at the end of the day, and we bounced back and had a couple good days later in the week. So. As a coaching staff and as a football team with the rest of our players, we got to grow from it.
Mike, was there anything Buffalo did that was out of the ordinary?
That's a tricky one, Brock. Is it like if you say yes, then your original thing is like no, but I don't think you're giving them enough credit about how they game planned and how they executed their game plan. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So everything was within kind of their wheelhouse. From what I could tell on tape, I haven't talked to the other coordinators yet, but you got to give them credit. They had a good game plan, and then they executed just way better than us. So we fell short. We fell short in both of those regards.
You mentioned the run game on both sides of the ball. Maybe we can start there and try to dissect what's going on. We'll start on defense, and I know you've talked to us quite a bit in the last few weeks about what it means to play rush defense at all three levels. What were you seeing specifically yesterday that seemed to take a step back?
Well, without getting to each, with each specific thing, you start targeting players and things like that. Just as a whole, we're just not getting it done. So whether it's getting off blocks and maintaining our gap integrity, and then when the ball does get out, being able to get it on the ground on the perimeter, we're not there yet. And so. Yeah, it's frustrating. We need to play more physical on the perimeter. We need to tackle better. I mean, everybody sees that. I don't know what the missed tackle numbers were, but it just felt like we had number 4 in our grasp too many times, and then he ended up splitting out. And when we said going into the game that this was going to be a game of yards, I mean, it's like Buffalo does a great job of kind of controlling field position and extending drives by kind of getting these hidden yards on both sides of the ball, forcing you to more get back on tracks and getting you behind the sticks when we're on offense. And then when you're on defense, creating some of these 4-down situations where the quarterback can come alive. And so we didn't create enough of those situations where we could really kind of get to the stuff that we got into in Atlanta and really have the ball come alive and be able to affect the quarterback.
Do you guys study, Mike, and I don't know if this is even capable of at any level, but the yards like falling forward? Not just yards after initial contact, but just those surge yards, right? The guy just falls forward from 1 to 3. Is that kind of some of those hidden yards that
we don't. It's not just those that we chart, but we do call it hidden yardage, and we have a feel like from game to game of where we're doing a good job and when we're not. But we're as a football team, you want to be going forward. So offensively and defensively, you want knocked back. We talk about finishing dominant positions and things, and sometimes it's not within your control, but there's too many plays yesterday where we're not doing that.
So when you say that going forward on defense, I assume that means hitting rather than catching. Is that a way to describe that?
Well, yeah, you have to. if you're first of all, if you haven't been blocked and you don't make the play, that's kind of a problem. So everybody's accounted for other than like the deep area of the field players. So you have to be able to defeat blocks, and that takes controlling your man and then getting off of that guy, and then making the play. So if you're falling forward, it's not from a lack of effort or a lack of toughness or mentality. It's just guys going full speed at you and you haven't beaten your block yet. So you're not in a very good spot to knock someone backward at that point. So I think you can attribute a lot to that.
How much does? Yeah, go ahead, Brock. One last one on the defense. Just how much does a guy like Josh Allen, who is a running quarterback and is a threat to use his legs, how does that affect the rest of the way the defense can, or how aggressive the defense can be?
Well, when he's under center, I mean, really the only threat at that point is boot and the movement stuff. They've done a really good job in Buffalo, kind of narrowing down the times where they want him to be a factor for obvious reasons with how you're going to protect your quarterback. So we had a pretty good feel about when he kind of entered into the equation in certain situations throughout the game. We called it accordingly. The guys knew that. But yeah, the runs, the under center runs. I mean, those are just those are NFL runs that were getting us.
And then on the flip side, Coach, you talk about the run game offensively, 17 for 32 yesterday.
Yep.
Do you have a sense of what kind of run team you want to be? What kind of run game there is? Is this a zone team, an outside zone team, a gap team? Does that make any sense at all? Or do you feel like
without
still
kind of telling everybody, I mean, I think that we want to go forward, so I think the downhill stuff with the type of linemen that we have, the tight ends that we have, and the backs, we got to make that come alive. Everyone has their change ups. I mean, there's wide zone and mid zone stuff that I think that we've executed well and just not consistently, but those are good schemes as well. And then the stuff in the gun with the RPOs, those are very hit and miss right now. It's just too kind of feast or famine when we're in the gun as well. So you got to be able to run under center. You got to be able to run it in the gun. Otherwise, teams are going to tee off on you when you're in some of those situations. So again, in the run game, we're going to look at it and we're going to attack it. I can promise you that. And but we have to be able to be more effective in the ground game. We got too good of players.
How much of it is commitment to it versus execution of it?
Both. Yep, both. And we got to do it earlier in games so we can still dictate terms and control the pace of the game. So you're not playing the whole fourth quarter in hurry up, no huddle, trying to get back into football games.
The weather play a role yesterday at all, Mike?
Well, I mean, the weather affects everybody, but it was a factor probably latter part of the first half. Beginning part we came out at half, probably third quarter on no, but yeah, anytime it's a little slicker or rainy, I mean, I think the surface was a little slick. It felt like we were both sides felt like we were kind of the footing wasn't one. The footing was a little slick out there, but I mean that's what we're asking for. We want that. I mean, this is something that we want to be able to take advantage of at our home at our place.
Was that your first? Was that your first Pacific Northwest downpour?
Was that a downpour? I mean, it was pretty rainy at the end of the half. But no, like we've definitely played in. I've been a part of games that been way more rainy than that.
Take maybe a broader look at the team right now. You're almost halfway through the season. We can probably do this again next week. At that point, you'll be over halfway and heading into the bye. But kind of looking at your team over the course of these last 8 games, what are the strengths of this team today versus what are some of the weaknesses that ultimately you'll want to clean up? Where are your strengths right now?
Well, I mean, I think we're a tough team. I think we're a resilient team. I think we're a team that I love how we go to work every day, our mentality. Defensively, I think situationally we've done some good things. It's been too inconsistent. Like we've had some great red zone and third down days, and then those are the situations that win you football game. We're chasing the run game right now, and it's not where we want it. But if you can get it stopped and then excel in those other situations, now you're going to have a consistent chance to win the games. I think we've done a good job on that front. I mean, I know we want to run the ball better on offense, but when we have been forced to pass, I mean, if they know you're going to pass and you can still pass it, that's good. If they know you're going to run it and you can still run it, that's good. Right now, we're not very effective in the run game when they know we're going to run it, or when we want to. It's just not on our terms. But in the pass game, just half the time, I think we've been efficient. I think Gino's had a great first half of the season. I think our offensive line is improving, and it'll be better if we can continue to keep him out of this consistent, pass rush types of opportunities. And special teams, I think we're covering kicks really, really well. I don't know, I'm not sure where we rank, but it feels like we're up there with the rest of the league. And so I'm excited about how we're covering. In our return game, it's been flashes. So, yesterday we gave the ball over again at the end of the game. But we've done some good things in the return game as well. We've been able to create some explosives. I think there's an opportunity to really take advantage of that in the second half.
So maybe the answer to this is kind of both, but are you a focus and accentuate the strengths and try and do more of it guy, or are you a focus on the weaknesses and try to fix some things that the team isn't doing?
Yeah, I think you got to start making some decisions on where to narrow it down. You can't focus on everything.
Right.
So taking out the stuff that we feel like is kind of like sunk costs at this point, maybe trying to trim that and then really focusing on and honing in on the stuff that we want to go excel at. And that's stuff that I feel like maybe opportunities that we haven't been able to take advantage of at this point, and stuff that we do feel like we're doing well. We can try to build on those.
Is that simplifying a little bit? Trying to narrow down what you're doing and simplify it a little bit?
I wouldn't say simplify. I mean, I don't think we're doing complicated things right now. I would say maybe less. Maybe less is more at this point. Maybe just getting better at it.
Yeah, kind of in that vein, how much of the playbook do you feel like you guys got in? Offensively, defensively, is everything there?
No, and the reason is because you can't. We haven't executed the things well enough and created the situations where we want to be able to get to everything. I think you can speak on both sides of the ball. So it's frustrating, you have some things that would help schematically, but the answer at the end of the day isn't the X's and O's. It's really not. I mean, everybody runs the same. Everyone runs some version of the zone, the mid, the inside to outside zone, some sort of gap runs. All the play action passes are the same concepts from week to week. It's just how you get to them. How you build it, how you block it, all those types of things. Defensively, I mean, everyone runs cover 3, split safety. Their version of split safety, man, it's all about how all the fronts are the same as 4 down. I mean, everybody's doing some version of kind of the same pool of stuff. It's just at this point in the season, it's how well you can do it.
I'll raise my hand. I was probably wrong and just assuming, oh, yeah, Ernest Jones is going to come in, snap your finger. I know he had 15 tackles, but it'll just be seamless, right? He knows football and what you just said, concepts and all of these things.
Yep.
But how challenging is it in just 3 days of work to get thrown in there? And, I think he played just about every play yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
What is that journey? What was that journey like, and what was the play like yesterday?
I thought Ernest it was a silver lining in yesterday. I mean, the tackle numbers kind of speak for itself. It felt like he erased some of the plays that we needed him to make, kind of moving like on the perimeter and in the alley. He comes in Thursday. You got to get him ready to play. So it's a race to Sunday. I didn't feel like it was out of whack or out of control or anything like that. It was just kind of a sense of urgency to get him caught up to speed. And there's going to be idiosyncrasies of how we play stuff that we're going to have to iron out over the course of the next X amount of weeks. That's what happened when Roquan came to Baltimore. Anytime you're trading for somebody and they haven't had all the bank reps, playing off people and things like that, this is part of the deal. But we're going to be better for it.
A day later, do you have more of a sense of what happened on the sideline with Jarren and Derick?
No, but they cooled down. They cooled down, and we're going to be just fine.
Where did you, Mike, where did you feel like you missed DK's presence the most?
Obviously, it's just all the things that DK does, but you can't look at yesterday and be like, hey, if DK's out there, we're going to win the game. That's not a shot at DK. I mean, we all love him. He's a phenomenal player. But I mean, if you look at the Atlanta game versus yesterday's game, we started fast in the Atlanta game, and then when we were presented opportunities as a team, we took advantage of it and made the other team pay, and ultimately won the game. Yesterday, we're still playing a great team. You know, they're gonna get their yards, they're gonna get their stops. But you look at it, and we created opportunities for us in the low red zone, not scoring on both of those drives, having some third down conversions that defensively that either via penalty or like the fumble, he kicked it to the other guy, ended up being a touchdown, and then we made a poor decision on how we're going to hit the quarterback late in the play that led to another touchdown. And so, you go for 2 unanswered drives, a touchdown and a field goal, and a takeaway in the second half, and it's like, okay, well, that's ball game, So I think that's really the story of the game is us. If you want to be able to win games like that, you have to be able to take advantage of the opportunities you create for yourselves. And we didn't do that. And then on top of that, you're doing some things that are self-inflicted, and so it's kind of like triple whammy against a good team, and then I think that's how it gets out of hand.
How close was George Fant from being able to go?
That's something that we're working through right now, from him being able, coming back from injury and practicing a certain amount of reps and all that. There's a lot of stuff kind of going on behind that conversation. So,
how did Jerrell do in his second outing out there?
You could fill in any player X, and after yesterday, you're going to say it's not good enough,
right?
So, but Mike played hard. He played really hard. There's plays that we fell short on, but I thought he tried to finish plays, and but that, again, you could ask me just anybody on our football team right now, and there's not a lot of bright spots coming out of yesterday.
Can you take a moment after a loss like that to see the bright spot for, say, Josh Jobe, who comes up with his first interception? Do you take a moment to kind of recognize that, or is it, hey, unfortunately, it just gets washed away by the unfortunate rest of the game?
Yeah, no. I'm happy for Josh for making that play.
Yeah.
It's a good play. It's a great play. And then there's a lot of good stuff on that play with guys trying to get blocks and trying to get him in the end zone. But no, I mean, just you're not like, no, is the short answer to that question.
Kind of another little bit nuanced or bigger picture question, Mike. We were chatting earlier about thinking versus reacting. Something I've heard from coaches for so many years, and especially I think defensive coordinators over the years, of just getting guys to not be thinking, right? I don't want to think about the scheme. I don't want to think about all the, the leverage. I just want to react. I've got that so baked in that I can just go out and cut it loose and react. Is there a little bit, we are 8 weeks into a new scheme for all of these guys. Is there a little bit of that thinking versus reacting going on?
I don't want to attribute to like thinking, or I don't know if that's the right way to attribute to where we're at right now, if that makes sense. It needs to be more violent. It needs to be more physical. We need to get more hats to the ball more consistently. We've done that on tape. We've done it in the past 8 weeks, but it hasn't been as frequent as it needs to be a championship caliber defense. And the numbers speak for it. The film backs it up. I think if you asked all of our guys, they would agree with you too. And so we're not satisfied in any stretch of the matter. And so we're going to, again, it's just like you got one option. It's just to go back and just attack the heck out of it until it's the way we want it to become. And the guys are resilient, and they're in, and we're going to go. Hopefully we get it this week, and go create the defense we want to become.
This might be a buzzword, but is that an effort issue?
No, I don't think you turn on the tape and say our guys aren't trying.
Okay,
their tails off. I don't think you'd say that at all. No, this is everybody, man. Like, it's how you design it. So, and ultimately, and I've said this multiple times, like, it's on tape and it's not good enough, and I'm the guy that's in charge of what shows up on tape. So it starts with me, and it starts with our coaches, and goes down to the rest of the team, and we all take ownership of it, and off we go. So, you everyone else can kind of come up with like the, hey, it's a new scheme, it's a new staff, the whole. I get that, and those are at play, but we don't look at it that lens. We're looking at it as is it the way we want or is it not, and let's go make it happen. Let's go create it the way we want.
Anybody that was close to participating yesterday that has a good shot maybe with this week, final week before the bye, being up on next Sunday?
Well, without having talked to medical, I mean, obviously optimistic. DK comes back. Love to have him back. But I don't know where he's at right now, coming off the end of the week. Mm-hmm. Anybody else in mind, Brock, off that?
Trey or Fant? I think Salk asked you about Fant earlier.
Yeah, well, Trey was ready to go, but he hadn't practiced as much. So, we're going to work through who's starting at corner moving forward here. But we should have Trey.
Okay.
And then the same thing with Fant. We'll kind of work out what's going on and whether or not he's ready to come back and play this week.
And Abe's still a no-go until after the bye. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Do you consider the bye in before making decisions on guys for this coming week of, hey, is it beneficial to give them, if you give them 1 week, you're actually giving them 2 more weeks? Does that factor into any of that decision making?
It could. I mean, it could. No one really. I don't think there's anybody that you're looking at to have that conversation, but I wouldn't rule that type of thought out.
And everybody came out of it.
Week,
and everybody came out of it pretty good yesterday, physically.
I believe so. Yeah, Draymond ended up coming back from his shoulder.
So next week you get the Rams, first time for, or I guess your second division game, but first time against the Rams. And there's been a lot of conversation about their offense and their head coach and his kind of play calling versus what you've done in Baltimore in your career and now. What should we know about taking on a Sean McVay offense?
I mean, look, you don't just have. What is it, like have a half a dozen to 8 people leave your staff to become head coaches and have the success that he's had by accident. So have a lot of respect for Sean. I mean, I can't believe he's been doing it for us. I mean, he's been doing this thing for, it seems like forever now, but he's still really young. His teams play really hard. They're really well organized. They got a great scheme. They got great players. I mean, all the guys, they're getting healthy now, so they're getting some confidence back. So I think you're looking at like a similar, it feels like the same curve from where they were at last year. I think they had a slow start last year, and they end up obviously getting on a roll. So it's going to be a confident team coming up here, and we got our work cut out for us this week, and so we need a great week of practice. And just like we said to the team after the game, let's show up on guys that show up on Tuesday are the ones that are ready to go to work and ready to go to war with us. And so that's what we're going to do.
Coach, we appreciate it. Thanks for sitting down with us. Good luck on Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. There.